Okay.
Steve, what's what's the word on Draymond?
It's got
Recording in progress.
yeah, it's a contusion and it's a day-to-day.
Is he out for tomorrow?
No question.
Question.
Yeah.
Did everybody else go to practice? Everybody else is good?
Today is a get what you need day, so the guys who didn't play much last night are playing pickup, and the other guys are getting treatment, and so there's no, we didn't have practice.
I'd like to go back to something you said last night about energy, how important energy was. You've got one of the most energetic benches, I think, in the NBA. You guys jumping up and down, carrying on. How do you encourage and engender that kind of enthusiasm on a team?
I don't have to. That's the beauty of it. It's organic. I think Steph is the catalyst behind the joy that our team plays with and cheers with. It's infectious. So when your leader, who's one of the best players in the league and one of the best players in the history of the NBA, is cheering for everybody the way he does, it's a pretty powerful force, and it just invades the whole team, and it becomes part of who you are.
You've got guys that aren't even playing that much who are also involved in the celebrations. That's buy-in, right?
Yeah, it's what every coach hopes for, but you know, it has to be organic. You can't really ask for that as a coach. You know, you might be able to maybe point something out in a film session if you know, once in a while, if you think the bench isn't into it, but it has to be organic.
So you're not holding bench celebration practice?
No, we haven't had to work on that yet this year, thankfully.
Hey Steve, you guys got the Bulls tomorrow. Vucevic won't be playing either in protocols, but how much have you watched of them, and what do you think of that team this year? Obviously, they have a bunch of new faces.
Haven't watched them yet. I'm going to watch them later today. I'll watch the tape and prepare for the game. I've been following them from afar, just monitoring the standings and their scores, and I know they had an outstanding preseason, which mattered. You know, they've laid a good foundation there. I thought Billy did a great job last year in a lot of ways, just setting up this year. You could feel their improvement a year ago. And now they've added to their talent base, and they've got a really good foundation. So I'm happy for the Bulls. I still cheer for them all these years later. I've got great memories there, of course, from my playing days, and great feelings for the city, and so I'm really happy for the Bulls, and they're becoming a real contender. So it's exciting.
Steve, how important is it that your team closes out this homestand on a high note, especially given the strength of schedule you've got coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really pleased with where we are right now. Just the way we've handled this homestand, 6-1. It's a long time to be at home, but our guys have stayed focused and stayed energetic and done a great job. And I remember my first coach I ever had, Cotton Fitzsimmons. He used to talk about the getaway game, how important the getaway game was before you head out on a trip to win that last home game. I think that's generally true, but I also think we're in a great place regardless of what happens tomorrow, and we've just got to keep building, keep growing.
Steve, people start comparing guys with the squad in 14-15, and then you see the similarity too, or is any from being underdog to win the whole
Right.
thing?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
I think the comparison is appropriate in that that team was not picked to go far and got off to a great start. And the same thing has happened this year. Most people didn't really pick us to have a great season, and we've gotten off to a great start. So from an exceeding expectations standpoint, the similarities are there. Different teams, different roster makeups. Of course, there are a couple of really important common denominators, a few of them. Steph, Draymond, and Andre, namely. And the style that we established that year has carried over, to 7 years later. And not only carried over, but evolved, and there's a comfort level under pressure when games are on the line, where Steph and Draymond and Andre know exactly what they're going to do. And so I think that a big part of our success this year is the foundation that was built back in 14, 15, and ever since. So it's fun to just kind of see the whole thing unfold over that span of time.
Steve, it's obviously early, but as you say, off to this hot start that a lot of people did not see coming, and maybe you're having a tough time trying to interpret what exactly that means yet. How much time do you think about that, or how much stock do you even put in it, knowing that, all right, it's early, you're maybe out a little further than you would have expected at this time, but are there elements you're seeing already that you can look at and say, I know that this part is sustainable,
Yeah.
or maybe this part's a little aberrational?
I'm like Arya from Game of Thrones. Like, I have all the names of the media members who picked us to be, outside the playoffs, and I'm just checking off the box every time I see one of those guys. I give them a little glare, and they know what that means.
But what face will you be wearing when we go? That's
But nobody knows. The man with no name may know, but nobody else knows. I don't know. I used to have to do that for a living a long time ago, and it's really hard to make predictions and prognostications, so I don't pay too close attention to that. I think as a coach, you kind of feel a vibe in training camp usually, and you can kind of tell what kind of team you're going to have, where you are emotionally as a group. That really matters. 2 years ago we were shattered, literally and figuratively, and even had Steph stayed healthy, there was a feeling in that training camp for me like this is going to be a slog. This year was the exact opposite. It was like, all right, we've been in the mud for the last 2 years, digging our way out. We've got some new additions. We've got the return of Andre. We've got Clay coming back. Training camp felt right. It felt great. We won all 5 games we played. Didn't feel like a mirage. So this start has not really surprised me because it just felt like this was going to be a really good team.
You had those couple seasons of slogging through it and not having that success, and yet it seemed like you were still able to carry over what you talked about, the approach from the early years. How did you go about doing that when you weren't getting necessarily the success on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have some values that you believe in as an organization, as a team, the most important time to really express those values and act on them every day is when you are in a bad place. Otherwise, those values aren't authentic. So I think 2 years ago we had the worst record in the league. I felt like we had a really good learning environment for that team. I felt like guys could look forward to practice. I was very proud of that season in a strange way. Despite our record, it felt like we had a good atmosphere. A good atmosphere where guys could work and improve, but also enjoy themselves on a daily basis, and bring their families in and make them part of things. And so it's been very gratifying to see it bounce back the other way, with the thought that we sustained our culture through some tough times, and now that's paying off as we've gotten healthier and more talented.
I've got a couple on Zoom. Anthony Slater.
Yeah, just kind of a two-part question here. Cameras caught Draymond and Jordan having a pretty heated argument on the bench last night. Number one, did that rise to anything beyond normal, in your opinion?
No. They hash it out afterwards. They're good. You've been covering this team for a while. You know, one of the things we love about Draymond is his energy, his passion, and we all know sometimes it bubbles over. And the great thing with Dre is that he's always about the team, and he's always circling back, and you know, his loyalty and his passion, he's always lands in the right spot. And so 82 games, stuff like that's going to happen, and it's behind us.
Second part of that, you know, Jordan is obviously an ascending, confident young player, opinionated at times too. How did you just see that dynamic playing out with him and the veterans?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about our team is we've got this really nice balance of veterans and young guys, and so, you know, we're giving Jordan a lot of rope. We want him to be aggressive. We need him to get to the rim. We need him to attack. And that means he's going to make some mistakes because he's just in his third year. We have the internal leadership to be able to rein him in. And so it's not always me or one of the coaches who has to, you know, watch film with him and say, hey, this is what you could have done, or that's what you could have done. It's our veteran players. It's Andre, Draymond, Steph, and they sort of do it together, you know, piece it together and help Jordan. And there's some tough love, and then there's some lighter stuff and everything in between. And what I love about Jordan is he's really coachable. We've talked a lot about how hard he works, but he's also very coachable, and he listens, and his growth is continuing because of his willingness to learn and admit that he doesn't know everything yet.
Let's go to Lonnie Poole. Lonnie, go ahead.
Recording stopped.
Hi, Monty.
Hey, oh, okay, I guess I was waiting for Raymond to say, calling someone. I know you said you hadn't really seen much of the Bulls, but it appears that both Lonzo and Zach LaVine are really playing well. When Lonzo was traded over there, just what your thought about the possibility of him pairing with Zach in the backcourt, and what little have you seen so far?
I think Lonzo is the kind of point guard who's going to help anybody become a better team just because of his willingness to pass, throw the ball up the court, his unselfishness, and over the last couple of years he's become a much better three-point shooter. And so I thought that was a great signing for the Bulls. Caruso has long been an underrated player, two-way player, smart, tough, and then you add the scoring of DeMar to what Zach already had. Zach's one of the most talented players in the league. Vucevic, I mean, they've got weapons now, and the pieces of the puzzle fit really well. Now, I haven't watched them a ton. As I said, I'll watch them more today, but just you know, from afar, it looks like everything's clicking for them, and you know, they've brought in the kind of players who tie teams together, and like I said, it's great to see. All right, thanks.